You are listening to The Wellness Project. I'm your host, Des, and this is episode number 124. I would greatly appreciate it if you would leave me a review on iTunes or Spotify. It helps my podcast to grow, so I would love that. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining me today. On today's episode, I speak with Toussaint Stewart. Toussaint is a plant-based nutritionalist, a holistic wellness coach, and an author. He uses a variety of practices that help with nervous system regulation and somatic healing. He believes that holistic self-care is an important part of our healing journey, and he's passionate about helping people with holistic self-care. So that's going to be a majority of what we are talking about today, as well as whole wellness, nutrition, and how the different things that we consume impact our mental health. And we're not talking about just consuming food. This is going to be a great conversation. Toussaint is going to give us so much information about how we can work on our wellness, work on our mental health. It's going to be such a valuable conversation. So help me welcome Toussaint. All right, Toussaint, thank you so much for joining me today.
All right, it's my pleasure.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I would love to get us started. If you could introduce yourself, share your story, who you are, how you got to where you are today.
Awesome. Well, my name is Toussaint Stewart. I was born and raised in Oakland, California. How did I get to where I'm at now? Well, being a holistic health and wellness practitioner, I took a few different roads. I happen to be a second generation transcendental meditator. My father was into the healing arts growing up. He meditated, he worked on his diet. He took me and my twin brother around the gym with him like gym rats. But he also struggled with binge alcoholism. As a child, that really, and as a preteen coming up, it really affected his self-care, affected how much we saw him and the quality of our time with him. So I realized that a lot of my concern growing up was about my father's self-care. And then that kind of permeated out. I always kind of looked around at people around me and wondering how people are doing or whatever. And I didn't even realize that this consciousness was coming to me. But to make a long story short, as I grew up, I got into athletics, got into working out and really began to take on what my father kind of passed on to me. He taught me how to meditate a little bit as well and had me witness him a lot. As I was coming of age, as an adult, I got into creative writing and poetry, got into my art side, but I always kept a workout. I always went to the gym and I always felt really good in my body about that. It was sort of like my therapy. And then eventually I got really more into working out after I turned 40. A previous relationship of mine, she was telling me, maybe you should try to be a personal trainer. And I was like, maybe. And I was already a vegetarian for years. And then I began to start becoming more whole food, plant-based vegan. At the time, I became a personal trainer at 24 Hour Fitness. And then I began to kind of piece things together. I was like, you know what? Maybe I could start bringing my personal training together with my eating, and maybe I can help people on that level, because as a personal trainer, you really help people with diet, you help people with fitness, the whole nine. And I was a public school teacher at the time teaching PE in a health and fitness pathway. It was actually created by me and my wife, Jackie. She was in there and we were both leading the pathway. And eventually, after about 3 or 4 years teaching, I said, you know what? I want to become a holistic health and wellness practitioner full time, because I began to get heavily into meditation and pranayama breath work as well with this organization called Black to Yoga. That really kind of launched me into, I got into transcendental meditation, and I just decided to dive into what really spoke to me. lo and behold, now I developed my holistic health and wellness academy, Town Wellness. And I have been supporting clients, teaching meditation classes every week, and developing group coaching containers and master classes and all this stuff. And it's just such a blessing to serve, you know. But I think a lot of it kind of was sparked behind the trauma of not consistently being able to be with my hero, my mentor, my father, because of his self care, and me being preoccupied with that allowed me to kind of have this lens. And now I'm able to sort of pick up where I left off and pick up where my father left off by supporting other people in their holistic practices and helping them develop a practice so that way they can be more present for their families and they can be more present for their community and their life work because they're pouring into themselves and their self-care as well, because we know self-care is not just about you, but it's about who you affect as well, and it's about your journey.
Oh, wow. What a journey you have had. Oh, wow. I love all of that. And yeah, it sounds like your dad had a huge impact on your life, literally carved your whole path.
Yeah, well, I guess you could say that. Yeah, you know, my mother is also she was a nurse practitioner for about 30 years in the emergency room too. So she also is a big influence on my health and wellness. Just her being my solid rock foundation, you know, she got me really health conscious around eating growing up too. I mean, we can only eat like fried chicken twice a year. We couldn't eat any sugar cereals, and she would break it down to us. We had vegetables and salad with every meal. She had us really become more conscious of what we took into our body. I mean, she wasn't vegetarian, she wasn't vegan, but she had a garden in the front and the back of the house, and we had to pick corn and pick, you know, strawberries and stuff, and we love that. It was just sort of a part of my narrative growing up, and different ways. You know, I guess my father taught me what to do and what not to do around wellness. Different viewpoints, but definitely very much affected by both of them.
Yeah, so you have been surrounded by different areas of wellness your whole life, it sounds like, from your mom and your dad.
Pretty much, I would say so. Yeah, and then in my own experience as a high school athlete, as a college track athlete, I just understood how present I was when I was in my own body and being physically fit and taking care of myself and being flexible. I was always the most flexible on my team, on my track teams, always the fastest, and got into sprinting. And I really love the aesthetic of sports and just the artisticness of it, the bodies, the beautiful human body, you know, going to track meets, meeting people and traveling and things like that. And it was really a passion of mine, but I realized it kind of morphed into this therapy for me in my 20s and my 30s. You know, you get those rough patches. Sometimes all you can lean on is a workout, you know.
Oh,
But,
absolutely. Physical activity is so great for our mental
yeah,
health. So that's
yeah.
amazing. I fully agree with that. And so what is holistic self-care? How do you define that?
I define holistic self care as intentionally addressing your whole life through particular practices to address emotional health, to address nutritional health, to address physical fitness, to address nervous system regulation, practices that support you in being the best version of yourself in a well-rounded, holistic way. I understand that having a physical fitness practice is fine, doing that every day and, you know, establishing frequency around it and energy around it and even the community around it. You might see some of the same people at your gym or wherever you work out at. But I think it has to go a little deeper. So I think when you can add a meditation or a mindful practice around that, and then when you can incorporate a whole food plant-based diet around that, and then when you can incorporate a yoga practice around that, and a nervous system regulation practice around that, then you begin to address the whole you and various different aspects of how you are in the world. So then you're addressing the whole person. You're addressing your spiritual needs, your emotional needs, your nutrition needs. When all those come together, it's just this synergy where you're just so grounded in your body, but you're connected to the best version of yourself. And then you can download so many powerful aspects, I believe, of your higher self when you are intentional about how you spend your self-care time.
Oh, yeah, I love that. I think that sometimes when people do something like they're only going to the gym, they're leaving a lot on the table if they're filling their bodies with all these, consuming all these different things, right? Like negative things from the media, all this sugar and candy and junk and things that don't make us feel good. And it is hard to kind of aspire to get to that whole wellness. I think that people can feel really overwhelmed by that. So do you have any tips or advice for our listeners that they can start practicing this holistic self care in an easy way, in an attainable way?
One place to start is self-reflection. Just some honest self-reflection. One of the first starts of self-care is really being honest with yourself and where you are and how you want to improve yourself. Where do you see yourself? Like, have a vision. Okay, if you are really wanting to improve your health, begin to imagine what it would look like to lose 20 pounds, but also feel more energetic, how you would change in that process. What qualities does that version of yourself possess? Going through some embodiment. But I just think just simple self reflection and then also just having this intention on self care, asking yourself, how can I better take care of myself? How can I eat better? How can I get more sleep? In a holistic way, though, like in a way that's not outside of my body, but in a way that I can unleash something that's already within me. How can I unleash the peace that is present in me? I really believe that wellness, you can't really gain anything out of wellness. I think you can only unleash what already is. And I think the first step to really getting into holistic health and wellness, or just is just really this first intention on self reflection, developing some self awareness, and just asking yourself, where do I see myself at? And how can I improve on this portion or on this aspect of my health? And just take it one step at a time, but being gentle with yourself and not so critical, like, oh man, I haven't been doing this, haven't been doing that. So I got to go on this crash diet. And then all of a sudden, you haven't embodied that version of yourself. And then you just go back to this cycle of like crash dieting. And then you go back, and then you gain the weight back. Taking it one step at a time and really starting from the inside out, I think, is what has to happen first, right? That self reflective aspect.
I really like that. I love how you mentioned unleashing what's already within us. I like that idea a lot. And I like that you brought up that self critical aspect because I think that's so true. I think when we're trying to work on ourselves, when we're doing that self reflection, trying to become self aware, we do get critical of ourselves that I'm not doing enough and I'm not eating healthy enough. And oh, I ate that cookie. And yeah, so I really like that you brought that up to be gentle with ourselves, give ourselves grace, because I think within self care and whole wellness, there is that really self critical piece that a lot of us battle.
Absolutely. And that right there, it can really be a downer because I think a lot of that is so much identification with the world and with our programming. And this is where that self reflective piece comes in. Oftentimes, we're mimicking the programming that we got from our families, from society, from the collective consciousness. We unconsciously sometimes become performers and we're surviving. we're in this survival, this fight or flight, and everything is kind of based on external validation, what we look like, what we're wearing, and we're playing this theatrical game, and we're really don't have that sense of true self. When you can reflect, honestly reflect and go, okay, what do I want to prune out of me that is not serving me? And then you really begin to realize you have some neural networks in your brain, these patterns of behavior that are not serving you. And then you can go, okay, what do I want to add? And this is where practice comes in. This is why when you embody that version of who you truly want to be and who you know you can be, then you can begin to practice. And it's not about hating on yourself for where you came from. It's just about loving on yourself and knowing that you're not your programs. You're a ever evolving, transformative being having a human experience. And so you're not in anybody's box if you don't allow yourself to be. And then you just got to realize, okay, wait a minute, I think I've been in a box here. So let me make some changes in a loving way and let me realize what is not working and say, okay, this is not serving me anymore. So I'm going to put this on the side and let this go. And, there might have to be some inner child healing that comes along with that process because, the personality can be full of survival mechanisms that we have no idea that's running. These programs of survival are running, and it can be a rabbit hole. But I think the first step is just loving on yourself by saying, okay, how do I want to lovingly change right now and prune, neural network pruning.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's great. And obviously, so I know that you're in this wellness space, you're into a lot of physical activity and nutrition and things like that.
Yes,
So, how do you think that inactivity and poor nutrition impact our mental health? Do you think that there's a connection between what we put in our body and our mental health?
absolutely. What you put in your body and what you put in your mind, this is energy. Your intentions and your energy matters, right? And so when we're taking in Netflix and YouTube and people around us, like all of this energy is coming into our influences in our mind, right? In our body. And then food. You think about food, whole food has a sacred intention because it comes directly from the earth, right? So it's an embodiment of I think, a holy intention. When you are putting food that is not coming from a science project to get you addicted, when you eat food that has not been slaughtered and massacred and exploited, stuck with all kinds of hormones and stuff. And so when you take in all of this flesh and all this energy, all of this stuff, this laboratory processed food, if you're taking in all of that, and then you're taking in all of this negative, fear mongering, fear based media, and then you just scroll, all of this can completely affect you to where you become sedentary because you're either addicted to looking at all of this stuff because it's sort of fascinating and all of a sudden you go down these rabbit holes, or you're looking for something to sort of make you feel better. But the whole time you're still sitting, you're not moving, right? And then all of this fear makes you escape through all of this addictive standard American dietary food. And it's just this perpetuating cycle. And all of this can really affect you. So it's so important to surround yourself with people who care about you, but people who are also taking good care of themselves. It's very important. If you're not a whole food plant-based vegan, which I am, then make sure you are prioritizing plants because this is the sacred energy of the sun that is coming into your body, the electromagnetic charge that your body is looking for. If we can begin to be intentional about what we eat and what we consume on a social media level and friendship level and relationship, and begin to establish boundaries for what we will take into our body physically, and what we will take into our body mentally and relationship wise, then we can begin to establish the world that we really want to live in. And then we can begin to unleash the heaven that is already present in us that we came into the world with. And I think a lot of it is really about following your intuition. And intuition is improved when you have good gut health. I'm a firm believer. When you have good gut health, you are tapped into your intuition and you begin to trust yourself more. And you don't get caught up in trying to people please and and all of this kind of thing. You just are true to yourself, and then you begin to attract things that support who you truly are, and that's a divine being.
Oh, yeah, this is all so great. And I know that gut health is such an important indicator of our overall health and it really impacts our brains. But a lot of people don't understand what gut health is or what is an indicator that your gut health is poor or it is healthy. Do you have any sort of advice or indicators that people should be able to look out for or how they can improve their gut health?
I firmly believe gut health is the center of our universe. And I'm going to say that for a few reasons. The gut itself is 80% of our immune system. The gut microbiome is responsible for creating at least 95% of the body's available serotonin. That is, it moves up the vagus vein to your brain, right? And we know serotonin is that neurotransmitter that has us feeling grounded, stable, sense of self. And it's really important. But also, the gut microbiome is responsible for many other positive neurotransmitters. Some indicators around your gut health being off is when you're not trusting your intuition and when you don't feel grounded in your body. If you don't feel grounded, that means that you can't sit still. You have a lot of anxiety going on in your life. You're worried, which is means you're worried about the future or you're tripping off the past, but you can't stay present. And so we do things like breath work, pranayama breath work, and guided meditation. And these particular type of practices ground you into the innate intelligence that is living within our bodies, which improves gut health. Gut health is not just affected by your nutrition, it's affected by how you think, it's affected by lack of exercise or exercise you're doing. It's affected by the relationships you keep. Good gut health is really a holistic hallmarker. It's a holistic indicator. It's affected holistically. If you're not getting a lot of good sleep at night, that could be poor gut health. And one of the best ways to start to improve your gut health would be to begin to incorporate more plants in your life. If you're listening to this and you're just like, I am not giving up the meat, I am not giving up my fish, I'm not, okay. Try and make that a side dish. Incorporate more leafy greens, incorporate more fruit. Fruit is the highest quality of nutrition that humans can have on the planet. Start diving deep into your fruit. One of the best things about fruit is that it's astringent. Citrus fruit, plums, mangoes, they're astringent. So they're going to clean you out and they're going to attract the good bugs, the good gut microbes that will eventually begin to elicit that quality serotonin that you need to get grounded in your body. That's just one way. You can also make sure before 12 o'clock, you do not eat a bunch of grains and meats and all of this stuff because your body is in elimination phase. Your digestive system is in elimination phase in the morning. How you start the day affects everything. So if you can focus on drinking water, eating fruit, maybe have some, some whole grains like oatmeal sweetened with bananas and dates, maybe, and just focus on fruits and water in the morning before 12 p.m. You'd have some robust eliminations, getting all those toxins out. And then your mental health is clear. You're ready to go. You got your digestive juices going. And then you begin your ingestion phase of digestion, right? So when you honor your digestive cycles, that's another way to improve gut health. In fact, I have a gut health masterclass coming up around the third week of June that people can sign up very soon. But I am so fascinated by gut health because it affects everything you do in your life. And the most important thing it affects is your intuition, getting in touch and trusting yourself, trusting your gut, right? I could go all day on this. I know I just went on a tangent.
Oh, no, I love it. No, this was all so great. Toussaint, this was all so amazing. So many great value in this, so much that people will be able to get out of this. Do you have any last words of wisdom or advice for our listeners?
Oh, man. I would say this. For one, if you're listening to this podcast, then you have made an intentional decision to level up your wellness and to reflect on your wellness. You have got to give yourself a hug for that. Give yourself divine acknowledgement for that, because all it takes is one pebble in a pond to send ripples through the pond. Your body is listening to you. Every cell in your body is listening to you while you listen to my voice and while you listen to this amazing podcast on wellness. So you attracted all of this. So I would say go with that, celebrate yourself on that, and understand that every time you make an inch of self care in your life, whether it be eating more whole food, exercising, taking some time to take some deep breaths, you are sending the universe a signal, a sacred signal that I am worthy, that I am divine, and that I have it all within me to get better, to care for myself, and that I can be and will be the best version of myself. You continue to send these sacred signals to the universe because the universe is watching and listening and partaking in every single thought and action that you make. So, this action of you listening to this podcast is a blessing. So, move from this blessing and take it one decision at a time, one breath at a time, and love on yourself the whole way through. And you can prune your neural networks, the ones you don't want, and you can add neural networks through neuroplasticity. It is real. Celebrate yourself for even listening to this amazing podcast and move from there. You threw the pebble in the pond, it's rippling. You can go. Let's do it.
Toussaint, this has been so amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. Can you share where everyone can find you and where they can find your masterclass?
Absolutely. You can follow me or go to my IG at I am dot Toussaint Stewart, Toussaint Stewart, Stewart. And you can go to my link tree, which is there. The link is in the bio. And when you click on my link tree, you can sign up for my gut health masterclass, which is called Eating to the Rhythm of Your Gut. You can get a free holistic health and wellness call with me, 30 minutes. I can ask you questions. I can listen to you, and we can talk about your goals and wellness, and I can give you a proper assessment. Yeah, we can have an amazing call, and it's a complimentary wellness call. You can also go to my link tree and get my book, Plant Based 101, Whole Food, Whole You. You can download that as an ebook. It's also an audiobook as well. And you can also check out my Back to Whole Self Care Academy, which is my holistic health and wellness academy, which focuses on nervous system regulation, meditation, whole food, plant based diet and lifestyle, and body weight strength training, where we help you develop a robust, holistic, daily hygiene practice, where you expand your personal hygiene into a holistic health and wellness hygiene. This can be done by just practicing 35 minutes extra a day, where you pour into yourself with these practices, right? But yeah, that's pretty much it. Go to my IG at Toussaint Stewart, and I look forward to serving you.
Oh, great. Everyone, I'm going to have all those links in the show notes. So definitely go
Mhm.
check all of that out. It all sounds so amazing. Toussaint, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I look forward to hearing it.
Toussaint, thank you so much for coming on today, for sharing your story, for giving us all of those tips, all of that advice, all of those actionable steps that people can take to work on their mental health, their whole wellness. I'm so grateful that you were here today. What a great conversation. If you liked this episode, please share it and tag me on social media. I'm at The Wellness Project with Des on Instagram. Become a part of my Facebook community and join my email list. When you do so, you will get a free weekly wellness checklist. All of those links are in the show notes, and don't forget that every episode of The Wellness Project has an episode page full of all of the links, detailed show notes, where you can find our guest. You can find today's show notes at accordingtodes.com/124. Definitely go check out Toussaint, everything he has to offer, and sign up for his masterclass. Thanks for being here. I will see you in 2 weeks with another amazing guest.